There's something that someone wrote the other day that I read, and I want to do a video on it because it's something that has been bothering me lately. And it does bother me. I can't lie, it does bother me. Compassion is not a bad thing. Compassion is a good thing. You know, when you have compassion for someone, or you have compassion for your own life, or you have compassion for a craft, or compassion with helping people, etc., etc. But I know for myself, there is such a thing as having too much passion, caring too much about the people that you know, about your family members and what's going on in their life, you know. It's like my brother, for instance. You know, he's a drug addict like me. He does things once in a while. Lately, I haven't been doing anything once in a while because I can't, because I'll be right back into it, or the consequences are just too much, and I don't want to do that right now, and I'm not doing that right now. But, you know, he does what he does, and he has problems with himself. You know, he has some physical issues, and he got, you know, he says he gets depressed, and he, you know, he just gets tired of going to the place that he has to go to. And, you know, when I think about it, when I get into these ruts and I start thinking about the people that I care for, it becomes a toxic thing. It becomes something overbearing when you care for someone and you have compassion for them, but you know that you can't make them be satisfied or content with their life. You can't make them happy with their situation. You know, you can't live their life. And it isn't that I'm trying to live their life. I don't want to live their life because I can't live their life. But when you see people that you actually care for, you see, you think about yourself and you put yourself in their shoes. And this is what I do. I put myself in the shoes of my brother. I put myself in the shoes of fellow YouTubers. I put myself in the shoes of my mom and other people. And, you know, this is something that a lot of people that I know, they just can't understand why I don't want to come around so much, because I get attached to things. I'm just like any other person in the world. I get attached to people, places, and things. If I'm around it and I have to hear the things that they're doing, and I have to hear about their personal lives and the things that they're struggling with, or what, you know, all the things that go into a human being, all the conditioning, all the thoughts, all of the whatever's going on in their mind, and you have to hear this, even though you care for them, it becomes this oxymoron kind of conundrum where you care for them, but it's almost like you can't be around them. Like you can't come around people because you start getting involved with their energy and their personal things and things going on in their life. And I just don't want that responsibility at all. You know, I'm sorry to say this, but it's just the truth. I don't want to be my brother's keeper because I can't live his life. I can't live anybody else's life. I can only live my own life. And see, when I get into these mental ruts, I start thinking about stuff like this. And I think that because that's my brother, or that's my mother, or that's somebody I know, that I'm supposed to be, that I'm supposed to be the strong one, that I'm supposed to be the one to help them, or to solve an issue, or to do something for them. You see, this is what attachment does to the brain. This is what attachment does to us as people. It makes us think that we can ultimately help someone, or we can make them do something for themselves that we would want done for ourselves. But see, sometimes they don't want to do that. And you can't make them do it. But then when they don't do it, you say, okay, well, I'm sorry, I care for you. I really do care for you. And I have compassion for you as a person because I care for sentient beings. I care for things that feel like I feel. But it's almost like you have to say, okay, you're going to do what you're doing, so I see what you're doing, and there's nothing that I can do to make you not do what you're doing to yourself or the way that you're feeling about yourself. So I have to let you go. You see, I got to move on from you. I can't really associate myself with you because if we're together, the energy is not right. Your motives are different than mine. You're into and you're still doing some things that I don't want to do because I know where it gets me. I know the consequences of it. And I know my limits. And, it's easy to say to somebody, don't worry. Let it go. All the things that I say to people. It's very easy to say those things. But when you're someone that you just have something in you that you cannot help, it's just there, you see. And I want to get this clear to everyone in this video. When I say compassion, I am talking about if somebody is hungry and needs something to eat, if somebody is thirsty and they need water to drink, if someone is cold and they need a blanket or a tent and they're homeless, if somebody needs medical help, to get them medical help. But that's all that I mean when I say compassion. Excuse me. I don't mean getting involved with people's personal stuff. You see, this is where a lot of people, they will try to help someone, or they're compassionate about people and they want to get involved with their personal life. You see, they want to start getting involved with their personal problems or their personal mental things or personal physical things or their personal life all the way around. And this is something that I myself do not do at all. I don't want to do. I don't care to do. And I'm not going to do. Because people's personal issues, people's personal problems, people's personal life, that is on them. That is up to them to see whatever, they might have to see for themselves, or to do what they need to do, or to act however they act. They're responsible for themselves. People that can think, people that, I'm not talking about mentally retarded people or people that have severe physical or health issues. They need help. I'm not talking about them people. I'm talking about people like me that can talk walk, listen, think for myself. You know, you gotta let people be people. And I'm all for helping someone that needs help. But when it comes to the personal things, like if they're a drug addict or they're having some kind of relationship issue, or they are saying, I hate this person and this person this and this person that. See, this is where we need to stay out of other people's business. We need to stay out of other people's personal lives. And I did a video on this the other day, but it was way too long. It was drawn out too much. But the way that I see it is, we should be able to, if we were in a group situation with people, it's something kind of like, it's not like NA or NA. It's similar, but it's not the same. You see, I think that we should be able to talk about whatever we need to talk about. I think that I, as a person, should be able to spew my guts out. I think I should be able to say whatever I want to say. I think I should be able to express myself however I express myself, and that is what YouTube is for. That is what these videos are for. But I don't think that if it was people in a group setting, say there was 10 people in a room together, spewing their guts out, talking about their life, talking about things they're going through. You know, they broke up with someone died in their family. Excuse me. Something happened with them, you know, they broke their arms, just something, and they have to talk about that. And they have to get it off of their mind. They got to get it off of their chest. There's no problem with that. That's not an issue. And if they need help with something, if they need food, or they need clothes, or they need water, or they need a tent to stay in because they're homeless, or they need some blankets, or they need a shelter, or they need some kind of, I don't know, toothbrush, toothpaste, underarm deodorant, whatever they need, that's fine. You know, give it to them. But when there's these 10 people that are talking amongst each other and they're spewing their guts out and they're talking about what they need to talk about, they're letting everyone know what is going through their mind and what's going on in their life, etc., etc. When that is done, then I think that we should leave it at that. Don't go any further with it, you see? Let people's personal lives be their personal life. Do not get involved with, do not try to solve their problems, do not try to give them advice or to change them or to tell them, hey, maybe you should do this or you should do that, or hey, did you ever think about doing this before? No. See, I think that that should be the deadline of how far we should take certain things. And this is how it was back in the day. People did not get involved with other people's stuff. Families dealt with the family issues and problems. You know, it's kind of like how, now I don't like using this as an example because it deals with violence and corruption and everything else, but it's kind of like the mob, the mafia. You know, they handled shit between them. The gangsters handled what, you know, what they were doing to each other. They didn't kill and hurt men, women, and children that weren't involved with that. They didn't get them involved, you see. And that's how I think that every one of our lives should be. I don't think that we should get involved with each other's personal stuff. even in these relationships that people get into, I even have something. I am not necessarily for relationships. I think that relationships are like bondage to a person. I don't think that you're a free individual when you get into relationships with people. I think people should be acquaintances. People should be there when you really need them to help. You see what I'm saying? I think that people should, when you really need help with something, then there's someone that you can say, okay, I can call them because I know that they will help me. You know, okay, I'm having this problem where I don't have enough food to feed whoever I need to feed, so I can call this person or this place and they can help me with that. But see, things like this, things like my channel and YouTube, I think that this is the thing that is valuable to me in my life, is that I have a platform to go on where I can talk about whatever I need to talk about. I can say whatever I need to say. I can discuss things the way that I need to discuss things and let it at that. You know, let it be at that. Let it stay at that level. There's no need to do any more. There's no need to force somebody to do more than what they're already doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, myself. I got to give you myself as the example, because all I can tell you about is my life and what I have been through and what I'm still going through and the things going on in my life. These videos are what I do. You know, I do them, I put it out, and that's what I have to offer as a person. I have videos to offer. I have expression to offer. I have in the moment, raw, authentic talks, discussions that I put out there, and it doesn't need to be any more, because if I was doing anything more, it would be extra baggage. It would be me forcing myself to try to do something more than what I'm already doing right now. And for me, I tell myself, this has to be enough. It has to be enough. See, a lot of us, we don't have any limitations on how far we will take something, and then we wonder why there's nothing really happening. We wonder why we keep going in this vicious loop and cycle that we go in, even though life is monotonous, even though there's a lot of monotonous things. I understand that, but a lot of us, we are trying to solve issues in our lives or other people's lives, or we want to get attached in a way where we're literally causing the extra baggage. We're literally bringing the nonsensical things to us that we really don't need, because we think that we're supposed to be someone to ultimately solve somebody else's problems or their personal issues or things that they got themselves into in the first place. And see, nobody can dig anybody out of their own hole if they're in a hole. They have to decide to do that for themselves. And all that you and I can do as a person is you can give them the things that they may need in the meantime. You see what I'm saying? But right when we think that we can change someone, or we can ultimately save someone from their drug addiction, or we can get involved with their having some kind of relationship problem, or they broke up with somebody and they're hurt. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on with these things. And what I'm really trying to say here is, and what I am saying is, a lot of these things are kind of extra baggage to begin with. You see, we've been programmed, we've been indoctrinated, we've been conditioned to think that we have to get into these relationships with men and women, and they have to stay together and start a family and all these kinds of things. Look, I'm not against people that if somebody's doing that, that's what they're doing. I'm just giving you an example of how I see all this. And that isn't really an example I wanted to use, but it's just the truth. It is an example of what I mean. And we think that we have to get involved in places that we don't have to get involved. You know, we think that we have to somehow be our brother's keeper and we have to solve his problems. And most of the time, you know, I'm sorry to say, they both end up sinking when one gets involved with something that there may be consequences because he knows better. You see, I know better than to get involved with certain things and the way that certain people think about stuff. I know better than to get involved with certain things. And this is why when you associate yourself with people and you associate yourself, you start associating yourself with their personal things. See, they start latching you onto their personal things, and then they start thinking that you're supposed to solve them, that you're supposed to change with them, or you're supposed to do something about their personal situation. And this is how, see, the reason why people are like this is because of attachment. They can't let go of things. They get themselves, they create these situations for themselves. And you see, I am here to tell you that you do not need to get in most of these situations. See, you don't have to create the responsibility that is needed in that area for a lot of things. You see, we create a lot of these problems for ourselves here. We get involved with situations that we should stay out of. We associate ourselves with people that we might care about, but I'm sorry to say, there comes a time where you have to swallow that hard pill that you don't want to swallow, and you got to say, look, even though I care, I got to let you go. I can't be around you all the time. We just don't mix. It's not a mixture that can come together, because it's going to turn into some poisonous kind of, mixture if we keep getting together like this. And this is why it's just better for people to stay out of personal things. It's better for people to not get themselves involved with this. They put themselves in bondage, a lot of people. Most people don't even realize that they literally put themselves into these relationships with people. They put themselves, they get into this contract with each other. And the contract, once one of the person becomes disinterested, or they want to move on, or there's no chemistry anymore, then it becomes this thing where I have to make this right. You see what I'm saying? We have to make this work. We have to try to help each other to keep being with each other. And this is, why do you think that marriage does not work? Most relationships do not work. It just doesn't work. I don't think it was meant to be this way in the first place. This is why I keep telling people, listen, If you have a family and you have it's a man and a woman and you have a child, look, that's your life, the best to you. But I don't think it was ever designed to be like this. If there was going to be people together, I think it was meant to be communes of people helping other people when help needed done. And in the leisurely time, in the spare time, the things you do, you're responsible for yourself. You do what you want to do, but just be responsible for what you're doing. And you can do what you want to do with people. If a woman has chemistry with a man, they can have some leisurely sex and then they go about their lives. And if some other person, if they see another person, see what we call these people whores and sluts and cheaters and all this kind of stuff. I don't see it like that. See, this is what they've conditioned us to think. They've programmed us to think this way. Don't you understand? These are the things that literally put us in bondage. It's why we're not free. Because we don't know how to be responsible for ourselves. You see, remember I said this to you. Fools need rules. Rules are for fools. See, people that are in control of this, that understand this, that have this under wraps, that they know not to take something too far. They're responsible for themselves. They know things. You see, they're disciplined people. You know, there are people that they hold themselves accountable for what they're doing. You know, they are going to, they don't need rules. You understand? Those people don't need rules in their life. Rules are for foolish people. Rules are for people that need rules because they don't know how to live without rules. You see what I'm saying? There's no need for rules in a commune of people that they're responsible, they're disciplined people, they hold themselves accountable. There's no need for rules at a place like that. And there's no need to get involved with this relationship thing. There's no need to get involved with other people's personal stuff. You understand what I'm saying here? It's very hard for the person that is still going by all this conditioning and all of this programming that we've been brought up with. It's very hard for those types and kinds of people to get what I'm saying. But this is why most of us are living miserably, because we are slaves. We are in bondage to what they told us that we had to be. Don't you see that most of these things are lies? They are literally keeping us sick. They're keeping us the way that we are. And I'm just using these as examples because it's for real. It's just nobody talks about this because they're scared to confront this and actually see it differently and think about it differently and make the change in their own lives. And there's hardly anybody in the world that practices polygamy or some kind of, I don't know what to call it. I don't know how to name it, but if we could all be responsible and we could all get our own jealousies and envies and all these things that we've been created to think that we have to be, we don't have to be like that. You see, this is mankind's biggest problem, is that they're not willing to change the way that they think about this world and the way that we have been living for centuries. And we keep putting ourselves in these places. We keep creating the problems for ourselves. We keep getting attached to things that just cannot work. Don't we see this? Don't we see that marriage does not work? Has it not been proven time and time again that marriage does not work for most people? Putting yourself under a piece of paper and putting yourself in a kind of, you're putting yourself under some kind of restriction for yourself. You see, you're signing a contract to have to stay with one another. And I don't think that it should be like this. That's just for me. I don't think that it should be like this. You know, why can't a commune of people live amongst each other? Yes, you have to have the bare necessities of rules, but we still know the rules. We understand what we need to understand. You know, we're not stupid. We should know this. Intelligent beings should know how to live amongst each other, you see. But first, all that conditioned shit needs to get out of our minds. All that way of living, the programmed way, the TV way, the mainstream way, all that got to go out of our minds in order to live amongst each other like this. See, this is why nobody's doing it, because nobody's changing the way that they think about things. And, you know, I could get really deep into this, and I will make more videos on it because I want to speak about it more. Because the way that I envision this thing, it's very similar to Osho, the way that he ran his place. It's very similar, but it's not the same. You see, whatever people do in their leisurely time is what they do. But it would be a little different with me. It wouldn't be the same way. I'm just saying, if there was a situation like this, you see what I'm saying? If I had a place that I owned or a place of refuge for myself, I know how I would want it to be for myself. But see, most people are still going by the way of the world. They're still thinking like the rest of the world. They're still going by the programming and the conditioning and what the TV is saying and what their parents and their family has done for centuries. They're still living by that thing. I'm not living by that thing anymore. I have broken away from that thing. That's not in my thinking anymore. And see, I know how it would be. People would look at me like I'm a crazy person, or, oh, well, you're wrong. That's not the right way to do it. You know, what is the right way to do anything? I know what's wrong. I know what's morally wrong. I know that it's wrong to injure another person or to hurt another person or to commit violence to another person. I know what's right and wrong, you know, but it's just these little, if we would just come to terms and get out of this denial that we're in, and we would stop living like the rest of the world, and we would take a look at this for ourselves, and we would get honest with ourselves, and we would stop playing this fake, phony, plasticky, mask and facade game that we're playing with the rest of corporate America and politicians and our family and all this other stuff. You see, I can't play that game anymore with people. I just can't do it. If they're doing it, hey, look, the best to you, but it's not my cup of soup, you see. And this is why, for myself, I want to go off in a land of my own, and if I have to think that way, even though I might not be doing it yet, if I got to think that way now, then at least I can think that way. You know, at least I can be in my own little room, and I can come outside at night, and I can speak, I can think how I want to think. Now, where I was going with this got very off topic from what I was talking about. I don't even remember what I was talking about when I first started this video. But See, the way that I'm speaking about this, there's no need to get involved with personal things. There's no need for us to do that anymore. It's not necessary. And people that know themselves, that understand themselves, that have been confronting themselves and have been looking at themselves in the mirror and have been being honest with themselves, and they have been disciplining their mind, and they have been holding themselves accountable, and they respect themselves, and I don't know quite the word to put there, but they have been examining their lives, and they're responsible for them, and they have compassion for themselves and others when the time is needed to have compassion for others. You know, when the time is right to help, then we help someone. But besides that, we don't get involved. See, personal things, this is what I wanted to say. Personal things in this world, most personal things are conditioned things. They are programmed thoughts. Think about what I'm saying here. Most personal things, what are they about? Think about this. Think about what I'm saying here. What are our personal things about? They're either about relationships, they're either about a corporate job, they're either about marriage, they're either about my kids, my children, they're either about going to some club and you were with some friends and their friends didn't like these friends and they got in some dispute over some stupid shit because this guy got with this girl and this girl didn't like him, and then that guy got jealous and was fighting. It's always about the conditioned and programmed and indoctrinated things that our family, our moms and dads, our grandparents, this thing that been going for centuries down the line that we've been living by. And you see it time and time again. It does not work. It doesn't work. Why do we keep bashing ourselves in the head with this then? I wonder why there are so few people that are willing to change it. Why are there so few people that are willing to call it out in their own lives and are willing to confront it and really be serious about it and really do it? I don't understand why there isn't more people doing this. It makes no sense to me. Like, that's what I just can't figure it out here. But I feel like I'm kind of in a bowl of soup, and just say it's an alphabet soup. I feel like I am the letter B for by myself, and there's A's, C's, D's, E's, F's, G's, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z's all around me. And I'm saying things that most people are not hearing, they never heard before, because I'm willing to think different. I'm willing to do something different. I'm willing to see it in a different way, you see. And then that's how I really feel, because I know that there's not too many other people that are thinking that way or are actually putting this into action in their life. And yes, it hasn't come to fruition for me yet. I'm not in a situation where I can show people, like, look, this is what I did. Look, I thought different and I'm thinking different, and this is what came of it. You know, right now, like I said before, I'm planting the seed in my mind and my thoughts. And the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, look, it might not happen how I want it to happen. It might not go the way I want it to go, but at least I can think about it. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that the action, all of it has to happen. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of seeing things. And when you think a certain way, you don't do certain things that you did before. And this is why a lot of people keep doing what they're doing. it keeps being this monotonous thing, this thing that people been following for years and centuries and decades. And it's just, to me, it's like lunacy. It's literally like lunacy why we still are under the impression that we have to live our lives like our parents or our family or our traditions or the way that the mainstream agenda and all this wants us to live. Why do we keep thinking that we have to live that way? It makes no sense to me. Don't we realize that we are in control of these vessels, our own vessels? We can literally do whatever we want to do, and I am all for doing what we really want to do, but at the same time, are we responsible? Are we going to be responsible? Have we learned our lesson yet? Have we disciplined ourselves not to take it to the extremes with stuff? You see, have we looked at our own jealousies, our own envies? Have we looked at ourselves in the mirror? Have we looked at everything, all of our flaws, all of our ambitions, all of our mistrusts, like everything? Have we looked at that in ourselves is the question. You see, we need to quit looking at everybody else and what the rest of the world is doing. What are we doing? It's only our lives. We can only live our lives. Do you see what I'm saying here? Do we understand what I mean here? We're so focused on what our family and friends and the rest of the world. This is why we can't get away from this trying to fit in thing, or we have to follow people, or we have to be like them because that's the way that they made us think. That's the way they want us to think. We've been programmed to think like this. Don't we understand this? And if we don't get away or decondition ourselves from that, we're going to keep thinking that way for ourselves, and it's going to keep being these same things. And I don't understand why it just keeps going the same exact way that it keeps going, and there's not more people that are breaking away into their own camps, that are breaking away into their own communes, that are breaking away into their... But see, the conditioned person, the programmed person, the fool that doesn't understand what he's even saying or what she's saying will say, oh yeah, you're like one of those cult leaders. You want to break away and start your own cult. You're like Charles Manson or you know, Jim Jones or David Koresh and them. No, it has nothing to do with that. See, that's what they did. That's what them idiots did. You see, I learned from them. I understand why they did what they did. I see what they used it for. They used it for control and power and all that kind of stuff. You see, they used it for the thing that they didn't even realize what they were doing. They were going by the programmed and conditioned way of doing it. They were going by the indoctrinated way of doing it. You see, I've learned from them what not to do. I already know that it's nothing like that. It's where people can be people. It's where we can do what we do responsibly, and we know what we're doing. We think before we act. We don't act irrationally. We're not going off just our feelings alone. We're going off of the discipline that we have been doing the whole time, looking at ourselves in the mirror, you know, calling out our own jealousies, our own envies, like everything that we do. If we can't be honest with each other, like people, if we can't be honest with ourselves, then how are we going to be honest with another person? And this isn't I'm not saying that I'm ever going to be in a commune of people, or that I'm going to be around people. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying for other people that would decide to do this, take the example from what I'm telling you, because all these other people, all they're going to do is they're going to bring what they've been indoctrinated and programmed and conditioned to think. They're going to bring all of that stuff with them into that place, and it's just going to create the same kind of frictions. It's going to create the same kind of whatever goes on. It's going to create the same kind of jealousies, the same kind of envies, the same kind of problems. It's going to keep doing the same exact thing. And this is what, it's very hard for people to understand what I'm really saying here if you have not yet broken away from that way of thinking. It's going to be very hard to understand what I mean. And I'm going to be looked at, but I don't care because I know what I am. I know what I'm doing. It isn't even that I'm an outcast or a black sheep or I'm any of those things that people, ignorant people will always call you a label. They don't know what else to do besides throw insults with labels. All they know how to do is insult you with labels. All they know how to do is insult you with some program thing that their mom and dad told them, or their parents or their grandparents, or the TV, or whatever, their school or whatever told them, because they still think that they have to live that way. They still think they have to live by that thing. You see, I'm not living by that anymore. I'm not going by the fabric of that anymore because I know that it's an illusion. I know that it's control. It's something that's trying to get me to be the way that I think that they want me to be, and that's not what I'm gonna be anymore. You see, I'm not scared to be myself. I'm not scared to expose what I need to expose for myself. I'm not scared to learn for myself, or to discipline myself, or to correct myself, or to hold myself accountable for what I'm doing. I'm not looking at other people saying, oh, what are they going to think if I do this? What are they going to think if I break off and I go do this thing? What are they going to think if I change how I am? What are they going to think if I'm a completely different person than what I was? And that's how most people are living their lives every single day. It's bondage. It's slavery. Can't we see we don't even realize that we are slaves to what we think other people think about us or how we want others to see us. This is how crazy it is when you come to this realization like I have come to. And you know, the reason I'm doing this, I'm not doing this to tell anybody to do anything. I'm just planting the seed of thought in our minds. I'm just getting us to think about what I'm saying, because I am not nuts. I am all together here. I'm clear-minded. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm saying, because I've been looking at this for, you know, over a decade now. I have been getting all of that stuff out of my mind, not putting more of it in my mind. I've been getting it out of my mind. I've been getting it away from me, you see. And if I wouldn't have been by myself, I don't know if I could have did this. And it isn't that I want to exclude myself and everything, but that's just what it is when there's other people that don't understand why you do and why you say what you say. And this is why you have compassion for them, but you just can't associate anymore. It's just, it doesn't click. They don't get it. They're not understanding why there are people like me in this world that seem like we're all of these things, that whatever label they use, but that's not really what it is. You see, most of these people don't even realize that they're creating their own problems. They're giving themselves the extra baggage. They are literally bringing nonsensical, irrelevant things to themselves that they do not need. They don't need them. And the reason that nobody is really knowing about this, because nobody's talking about it, because we are still in this controlled fear, you see. We are still being controlled by what we think people want us to be, or what we think the masses want us to be, or what we think our family wants us to be. And to me, the whole time, this whole thing has been wrong, in my opinion. It has not been the way that I think it should be. I don't want to say it's wrong. I just want to say I don't think it's the way that I think that it should be. I think we have created this thing like we have created the money system. Like when men got together and created the money system, they didn't even realize, because they didn't have the knowledge to understand what it was that they were doing to its full potential. They didn't understand all the other things that would come with it, you see. They only thought of it as a good thing at that time. And we're still thinking that a lot of these things are good. And yes, there's a hypocrisy there, because even me on this channel, I ask people, hey, if you want to help support the channel, then you can give a donation, you can help the channel. Yes, there's a hypocrisy there. I don't want to be under this system. I don't want to be under the slavery of money and paper and contracts and labels and all this bullshit. But the thing is, if we would use our resources and we would use the things that we do have, we could break away from these things. We could go and do our own thing. Yes, you still have to be a part of the hypocrisy somewhat. You can't get away from it. It's almost impossible unless you're someone that can go out in the woods and survive by yourself, and you can find mushrooms and plants and, you know, drinking water, and you can live like that. There's a few people that can live like that. I don't think I'm one of them people. I don't think I can do that. But it's like we don't have to be so much a part of these things. We don't have to be so much a part of the hypocrisy, you see. You still need a little bit of it if you're around, because it's kind of impossible to get away from the system. It's almost impossible. It's not impossible though. See, I'm saying that because that's what I'm thinking, but it's not impossible. It's hard, but it's not impossible. And I know, see, I have the thought. I know I have the thought, but I just can't put it into action right now. I don't have the proof to show people my thought, you see. But if you're really smart and you're listening to what I'm saying, and you're tired of some things, and you're sick of this, you're sick of that, you don't want to do this no more, there is another way. It doesn't have to be the way that they told us it has to be. It doesn't have to be that way for us. And this goes with everything in life. This goes with thinking. This goes with the lifestyle we live. This goes with the way that our diet is, the way we treat ourselves, the craft that we get into, anything that we do, there is categories. It's not just one thing, you see. And for me to explain this, I'm talking about a few categories. I'm not talking about the thing in its entirety, because it's very hard to explain this in its entirety if you don't quite know what I'm talking about. It's going to be very hard to swallow all this at one time. And that's why I had to break it up into littler pieces so that I could swallow it at one time to understand what is really going on here and what I'm really involved with, and what I keep thinking that I have to involve myself with that I really don't have to. But if you're not educated and you don't know, then you're not going to know things. And this is why I say a lack of knowledge is what destroys, because you don't know what to do next. The more knowledge you have, the more knowledge I have, then I can have kind of a plan. And it doesn't mean, see, there's always somebody out there. They might not be doing what they're saying, but they understand what they're saying. You see what I'm saying? I might not be doing everything I'm saying, but I understand what I'm saying. And most of the time people are like, oh, well, if you don't have something there for me to see and there isn't proof and you don't show me something, then they don't trust what you're saying. they look at you like a bigot or someone that's just saying this to say it, or they'll call you a hypocrite or whatever. Listen, I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't know what I was saying. I wouldn't be telling you these things if I haven't thought it through and I haven't seen other people do it, or I haven't studied it, or I know that what can happen for a person. You see, I don't have, if I had the resources to do what I know that I really want to do right now, I could do it, but I don't have it right now. And I'll even be so bold to say, if there is someone out there that has to give, that you really have way more than what you need in this life and you have to give, I will take a hefty donation if you can give it. I will receive that and I will treat it accordingly. I will do what needs to be done with it. I'm not scared to ask for things when I know what I'm going to do, what I'm asking for, you see. I'm not scared because I don't got nothing to be ashamed of. Now, it isn't that I'm begging. I'm just saying if there was someone willing to do that, I could do a lot more. I'm not in a situation to do a lot of these things yet, though. And that's very discouraging for me because I know what I could be doing that I'm not doing, that other people could do because they have it to do. They just don't have the thought to do it. You understand? They don't have the thinking like I do to do it. And this is where I am different from a lot of other people. I know, but I don't have the resources. I understand, but I might not be reaching the right kind of people, or I might not be talking to at the right time. It might not be the right time. But yeah, I went a little off track here with what I'm saying, but listen, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm saying, and it's just a knowing thing. I'm just telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I think about and what I know could happen for people if they would listen and they would actually apply it to their lives, which most people ain't gonna do because they don't think that they have to, or they're still either in denial of it, or they don't want to change it because they think, what are other people going to think? What is my family going to think? What is my friends going to think? Oh, well, I can't do that because I never did it before. You know, I can't have them thinking that I did something different. I can't have them thinking that I changed my mind and I have to go off on my own and do something. You see, we're in this mental bondage and slavery to each other. We are in this conditioned and programmed, they live kind of mentality. Can't we see it? I mean, it's right there, but we have to take the blinders off. We got to be willing to let it down and say, okay, yes, that's how it is, and get out of the denial of it. That's what's holding a lot of us back too from doing something like this. And I might not be explaining this the exact way that I want to explain it. I'm doing my best to. I know it seems like I'm ranting here, but I'm trying to tell, and it ain't even that I'm trying. I am telling people, if people would listen to me that have the necessary resources and they have the health and they have the ability to do it, they could be doing this. Do you understand? I'm not just out here wasting my breath. I'm not just saying this to say it. I'm saying this because you can help solve a lot of your issues. You can get rid of a lot of the unnecessary baggage in your life. You can stop getting yourself involved with these things that you think you have to get involved with that isn't doing you any good. It's just keeping you a slave to that mentality, to that kind of thinking, because you think that you got to think that way. You think that you got to be like the rest of the people in civilization, and you don't. Don't you understand? You're a free being. You can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to do the things that you're doing. You don't have to do them if you don't want to do them. This is how they got us thinking, that we have to do certain things, that we have to work a 9-to-5 job, that we have to be married, that we have to be in a relationship, that we have to do this, that we have to do this, we have to act this way, we gotta be this way, and we don't have to be that way. This is the conformity. This is the they live that is happening right now as I speak. We are literally in the movie They Live. If you watch the movie They Live, that is how we're living, is like them, the they people. But anyway, y'all, I'm ending it there. My side and my back is killing me and my arm holding up this phone, so I'm gonna let it go there. If anybody would like to help support the channel, thank you. A like would be appreciated. Anything helps on this platform. I am grateful and thankful for anything that I get because it is for needs and it is for this channel anyway. It's not used for anything else but that. So if you do, thank you. Take it easy. I'll talk with y'all later. Turn the phone off with my nose. I got gloves on. Later.